Okay. Hello and a very warm welcome to the Innovation in Climate Adaptation and Resilience webinar series. We call it the iCARE series. This is the sixth one in the series, and today we want to talk about innovating water management in a changing climate. I'm Terry, and I'm your session co-moderator for this iCARE series, and would like to thank you for joining us. If you are new to the webinar series, iCARE is part of the knowledge platform of the Climate Innovation Challenge, which in turn is part of the Climate Adaptation and Resilience for South Asia project, also known as CARE for South Asia project. This is a partnership between the World Bank and ADPC, financed by the UK government. The iCARE series highlights innovations in advancing climate resilience initiatives in the South Asian context by bringing together global experts and practitioners to a common platform such as this. In today's webinar, we aim to explore and gain a wider understanding on some of the key aspects of innovating for water management in a changing climate. We will reflect on the knowledge gained from some of the Climate Innovation Challenge pilot solutions that are being implemented in South Asia region, scoping for greater impact, as well as to leverage some creative and critical thinking through the discussions today. Before we move on, I would like to ask you to please visit our webpage at adpc.net/CIC for more information on the Climate Innovation Challenge. You will also find the full recording of past webinars uploaded there, as well as this one after this is done. At the end of the webinar, we will also share a feedback form. Please do fill in the feedback forms. It will help us improve and better shape our future iCARE series, webinar series. So without further ado, let me quickly introduce our four speakers and panelists, for today. Ms. Vindhya Vijasinghe. I'm sorry, I hope I'm not butchering your name, Vindhya. Vindhya is an innovative officer at the National Innovation Agency in Sri Lanka. The NIA is a newly established government institute to promote, network, and coordinate the innovation ecosystem. Before joining NIA, she served as the Deputy Project Manager at the Coordinating Secretariat for Science, Technology, and Innovation, where she was a member of the team working on climate change in Future Earth. She's trained in intellectual property management by the World Intellectual Property Organization, or the WIPO. Vindhya is a member of the Technology Innovation Support Center at the National Innovation Agency. She serves as a patent drafter, institutional intellectual property policy developer, and a mentor on technology transfer and commercialization. Vindhya is a member of the NIA team, working as the Hub Institute for WIPO Enabling Innovation Environment Project in Sri Lanka. Vindhya is also taken on the responsibility for the Women in Innovation and Entrepreneurship Initiative by WIPO. She holds a BSc in Genetics from Bangalore University, India, and MSc in Biotechnology from Postgraduate Institute of Agriculture, University of Paradeniya, Sri Lanka. First on a panelist is Dr. Kim Kwang-young. Kim is a professor at the Seoul National University in South Korea and an international consultant for agrometeorological services. His research area is plant disease epidemiology, development of pest and disease early warning, agrometeorology and its applications in climate services for agriculture, including climate change impact and adaptation assessments. Currently, a project team led by Kim is developing the Seamless Pest Management Platform in close partnership with the Bangladesh Rice Research Institute under the Climate Innovation Challenge Fund. Our next panelist is Kunal Prasad. Kunal is the co-founder and chief operating officer at Cropin Technology Solutions and AgriTech pioneer, building the first global intelligent agriculture cloud. He has more than 15 years of experience in sales and business development, project management, product and customer experiences. He's passionate about reimagining agriculture, leveraging digitization and AI at scale. He firmly believes in the power of data-driven farming to increase per acre value and improve outcomes for farmers and stakeholders in the agriculture ecosystem. At Cropin, Kunal is responsible for planning and driving global operations and extending the company's footprint of computed farmlands worldwide. He works extensively with government bodies, development agencies, cooperatives, and farmer groups globally towards this goal. He's also a strong advocate of addressing larger planet-scale challenges such as improving farm productivity, climate resilience, sustainability, and food security. Kunal has a degree in mechanical engineering from Birla Institute of Technology, Mesra, and an MBA in marketing from Great Lakes Institute of Management. Meanwhile, Crop is also a winner of the Climate Innovation Challenge Fund. Omar Saleh is the owner of Zephyr Consulting and co-owner of Slam Dam, which offers innovative solutions to enhance resilience to flooding and drought, as well as related software solutions. One of their key products is the mobile flood barrier called Slam Dam, which is also being piloted under the Climate Innovation Challenge Fund. Ultimately, their mission is to help people and environment flourish by offering a holistic approach to enhance resilience to flooding and drought. Their solution comprises of innovation and integrated products and services aimed to reduce the risk of damage caused by climate-induced flooding and drought. Omar is an effective change leader, experienced in managing complex climate adaptation projects for organizations including the World Bank, the African Development Bank Group, and the United Nations Environment Programme. The experiences taught him how to collaborate with different public and private stakeholder groups at different levels of the society in both developing and developed countries. We also have today the Deputy Executive Director of the Asian Disaster Preparedness Center. I would like to welcome Aslam for some words, please. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for sharing. You can de-share the screen now. Yeah, I think we all are waiting to hear from the panelists and the speaker. I just wanted to add, because some of us may have joined for the first time, this web series the online series that we are doing for innovation in climate adaptation and resilience currently covers the South Asia region. Very soon, we certainly are going to expand it to cover most of the Asia and Pacific region, because now we have seen over the period of time that this whole decision-making space in innovations are shared by science and policymakers. As you perhaps know that ADPC, with the help of World Bank, is implementing this climate adaptation and resilience for South Asia project, which is called CARE. One of the outcome of this particular project is to empowering decision makers with tools, products, and services to act locally on climate sensitive issues such as public policy planning, agriculture, water, and transport. Today, we are touching base the issue of water, and I'm pretty sure that the discussion would further advance in terms of the technology and prioritization of a demand-driven approach for climate resilience. Just to add that the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, which is called FCDO, the earlier defeat of the government of UK, is very keen now to look at how this solution can further be scaled up across sectors, as well as different tiers of governance from national to the local one. Just for your information, in the last 2 years, and this is coming to an end this month, we had actually supported about 23 innovations around the world that included technologies from Internet of Things, deep learning models to automatize land use, or smart farming to digital systems for decision support and others as well. Today, of course, we would discuss a little bit more in terms of how this water innovation in water resources are contributing to the overall integrated water resource management. For the future iCARE webinar series, we certainly are looking for more new technologies and innovations to deliver more better climate information and advice to vulnerable groups, as well as we are looking for mobilizing additional resources for building climate and environmental resilience. With this, I end here and I hand it over to Sherin.
Thank you, Aslam. With that, I think, so the agenda for today is we will hear each of the 4 speaker and panelists first, and then go into the Q&A session. So during the Q&A session, I will keep an eye out for any raised hands so that you can unmute yourself and ask your questions directly, or you can type your question in the chat box. One of us will pick it up and ask for you. So first off, I'm delighted to invite Vindhya to speak, please. You have the floor, Vindhya, and then you may also share your screen.
Thank you, Trishan. And hope my screen is visible.
Yes, you can also make it full screen. So
yeah, now it's okay, right?
Yeah, can you make it full screen, please?
I made it.
Okay, okay, now it's full screen. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah, welcome. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all who are joining for this valuable conversation on water and innovation. And before starting, I have to say that there's a very worse environmental condition outside my place right at the moment. Heavy wind and rainfall is started. So in case in between, if I get interrupted, please excuse me. I think I'm talking about water, and water will not harm me at this moment. So with that, I will start my presentation. I thank you very much, Asia Disaster Preparedness Center, for inviting me and for your description about me. And first of all, I have to say that I'm not a water specialist, but I'm an innovation officer who is working in different fields. And according to the introduction, you have already mentioned that the National Innovation Agency, which is been newly established in Sri Lanka to come up with maintaining and monitoring the innovation ecosystem in Sri Lanka. We are very much keen on one thematic area under our organization is the eco-innovation, and in that we have this water innovation as well. So with that consent, I will just move on to my presentation. First of all, as we all know that the world population is increasing day by day, and it is estimated in the mid-November 2022, the world population will nearly reach 8 billion. And it says that it has increased 2.5 billion people in the last 30 years. So we can understand that this means that the needfulness for people are getting increased as well. Out of all the needs, the most important and most precious need is nothing but the water, because we all know without a single day we cannot live, not a single day, even a single minute we can't live without air and water. So with that, let's see. Hope my slides move, right? Because there was some kind of a stuck here.
It did. It moved.
Okay, thank you. With the increasing population in the world, we all know that the water needness is also been increasing. So it says that nearly 700 million people could be displaced by the extreme water scarcity by 2030. So we are not much behind this targeted year, because it's almost 2022. And even it says that more than 5 billion people could live in water-stressed regions by 2050. Also, we know that nearly 85% wetlands are estimated to have been lost since the pre-industrial era, and the rate of loss is still accelerating. So being a country where the wetlands are very much high in the ecosystem, we are also facing this problem. the wetlands are a main part of the environmental ecosystem. And it also says that 70% of all water withdrawals are used by the agriculture. And being Asian, being in Asia, we all know that the agriculture is one of the main item in these countries, and we all know that how much water is being used in agriculture and how much water we are losing due to the agriculture as well. So the graph shows you the global water withdrawal in 2010, and this will give a kind of a background why the water is very much being needed for the people, and why we are in a very serious matter in the world right at the moment. And I put these two maps just to show that how the annual baseline water stress and the seasonal availability in water base have been visualized. We can see that when considered to Sri Lanka, we are in somewhat low water stress, but sadly in certain countries like India and Middle East countries, we can see there's a very high water stress comparative to other countries. So we can move on to the next, saying that we as a whole, if you take as a human body, we are made up of water. So we can see that if you take your entire body, center of the body, brain contains water. It flows on like blood, heart, bones, muscles, and livers. If you take the ratio or the percentage of water, we can see the high amount of the body mass is represented by the water. And it gives so many advantages, and it is very much needed for our body to function well. And this is the reason behind why we really wanted the water to be with us, and why we are extremely using the water without thinking that we have to be sustainable with the water in the environment. When you take the water itself, we know except the body mass in our the water amount in the body mass, we also need the water for our sanitation purposes, and it is very much needed for all of us. And also water as a power, because water is the main power source for in many of the countries in the world. And it also needed for transport, electricity already one source of power, and also for the industries as well. So we can say that if you statistically check, we know that growing a day's food for one adult will take about 1,700 gallons of water. And also, if you take paddy, the most staple food of most all the world, it really needed about 2,000 liters of water for 1 kilo of paddy to be grown. And this means that with the number of increasements in the people in the world, this fold will, the number of this fold will increase. So that means we have limited water. We know that though the earth is covered with near 97% water, we only the fresh water is considered to be 3%, nearly 3%, and out of it also we know that the usable water percentage is lesser than 1%. So from this lesser than 1%, we have to utilize for all the purposes, the sanitation purposes, the industry purposes, the agriculture purposes, and all sorts of purposes in the world. With that, as I said, the body is majority of the body water, and we need water for many of the day-to-day activities, and all these get together, and we have a culture behind water as well. As Asian countries and being Sri Lankans, I think we are very much aware that water gives a very precious, what is one of the precious things, or we consider it as a prosperity icon in the country. because according to Buddhist, we chant Pirit, the religious mantras, full night, and in that place we will be having one pot of water which we call Pirit water. The rituals we will be distributed with that Pirit water, which we say that if you have it, you will be very healthy, you will have all sort of prosperity. So as same, I think even Christians, you have holy water, and Muslims, they do use water for as a part of their culture and religion. Hindus, and even in a wedding or any items which is very precious in your life will be accommodate with water, except the day-to-day usage. And little bit of with that, I want to bring up some historical aspects of water in Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka is a country which is very famous for having a very well managed irrigation system. I think some of you might have already stated this saying of one of our great king, Parakramabahu. He said that not even a single drop of water that comes from the rain must not flow into the ocean without being made useful to the man. So I think at that time, I mean in the ancient time, from that time onwards, the people, they were thinking on how to manage and how to utilize the water, which the rain, especially the rain water. But I think the amount of thinking what was being done and practiced by the ancient people are not being considered in the future generation, because when we come to the irrigation system in Sri Lanka, we have a huge a number of tanks in the country, especially in the north central province, which some can be considered as larger as oceans. That's why the Parakramabahu king, which the tank which he made was being already called as Parakram Samudra, which means the Parakrama ocean. So likewise, they started building those things and started protecting the rain. There were several other techniques which they have used over there to protect them, like they grow up plant the huge trees to stop soil erosion and purifying the water and sort of things. And also I have shown the ancient cascade system of Sri Lanka, which is also very famous in the world, how they have managed, like they have several levels of tanks where to catch the water in the upper catchment areas and flows down and it gets filtered, and in the lower level the village people will be using and sort of integrate, and they have used the integrated water management systems, which now we are talking at that period as well, but without knowing that they are using the natural integrated water management systems. So I can say that the world may not exactly running out of water, but it is running out of the clean water, because we all know the water which is already available, the certain amount of water scarcity is there due to the drought and all those things. But more than that, I think we are disturbing the ecosystem for giving us the clean water. Considering all these aspects, I think the United Nations came up with the Sustainable Development Goal, and it gave very priority to the water under the Sustainable Development Goal number 6, the clean water and sanitation. But it shows that not only limiting to that particular goal, across all the 17 SDGs. So this diagram clearly shows that which SDGs are directly related to water and what strongly related and indirectly related. As we know that the goals like life on earth, life below water, climate action and so forth, it has a very strong relation with the water. It already talks about the water. But if you take some goals like quality education, decent work, industrial innovation and infrastructure, we might think that how come water is an important part in this particular thing? If you think about the quality education, a kid to be healthy and mentally relaxed person, the water gives a very big opportunity, because for that student to or the kid to go and study, he has to have proper food. So the proper food will have food production will need agricultural aspects, and the agricultural aspects will mainly based on water. And at the same time, if you take the health condition of that child need a certain amount of water per day to be consumption. So that will make him hydrated, and that will make him to do his or her work properly and so forth. And at the same time, the climate around him or her has to be in a very sensitive manner. So even in very protective and very favorable, the water plays a major role. So directly, we might not see that the quality education needs water, but indirectly, it gives a big help for that particular goal to be achieved. So this is just an example I want to talk.
India, you have about 7 minutes to complete.
Sure. And I think all of you might have remember the day 0. Where the Cape Town was almost near to be 0 with the groundwater. So in that, the things what we have learned from that is that nothing but that the people has to be really concerned about the water, about their natural resource, naturally available water, and their day-to-day usage and everything. So here we can see that the water security, previously when we were talking about water security, we usually talk how to protect the water with certain management aspects. But now we know that not only the management aspects which we take to secure the water directly, but also the good governance, transboundary cooperation, peace and political stability, financing, and all sorts of things also indirectly wanted to have this water security. So we can see very recently, I can say that the political instability which we faced very recently in Sri Lanka, due to that, there were so many examples which we can show that there were water losses as well. And here, when we are talking about the security, we surely should not forget the water footprints and also the food, water, and energy nexus. So already the natural infrastructure for water management to be considered, because when you are taking the smart into the action, always consider infrastructure as well. Water management, we were talking up to so many years that how naturally the water, the integrated water resource management has to be done, like considering the water resources, water safety, water and environment, and water ecology. Now the smart water management system has to be incorporated to that particular integrated water management system, because the IoT and cloud computing, crowdsourcing, all sort of things are being a big help nowadays as smart water management systems. So it has to be incorporated very much in the integrated water resource management. So with the fourth industrial revolution, so many technologies has been arise. So we can see that for the protection of water, for the availability of water and how to manage the water, we can use this for all these technologies in the fourth industrial revolution. So this chart will nicely show you what sort of fourth industrial revolution technologies like advanced sensor platforms, then artificial intelligence, then the membrane technologies have influenced the water management systems. So I think when you check this case studies, Singapore is one of the best case studies. We can always come up the new water because we know that how much less water they had and how they improve their used water to a drinkable water in the country. So they have nearly composite about 30% of their day-to-day water usage from this new water. So I think we, being a country who is having the natural water, the fresh water in a very high level, we will not think about this type of things, but we have to, because in the future we will surely face this scarcity if we work as such. And I think you all might know about this water in the humidity water converting into the drinkable water where certain areas. This was being practiced in Chile, the Atacama Desert. And this is kind of that when the water is low, we can use this atmospheric water to be converted into liquid form. And also we know very recent in UK, there was a new invention came out with this water bubble, which is an edible water packaging. Because we all know these PET bottles pose a huge amount of ocean pollution, especially. So we can replace this packaging system, like the packaging of water bottles, with these water bubbles in near future. So a way to approach not only to secure the water which is already there, but also to give the people some responsibility about the environment from the things what they are using. And Israel is also one major country which work on water management, because their drip irrigation, when we are coming for the smart agriculture, the drip irrigation, the hydroponics and sprinkling systems, and also the use of IoT for managing the growth of plants are being very much practiced in Israel. And one beautiful thing is that they have covered their reservoirs with white bubbles, because they know that even a drop which is evaporated will affect at one of their people, even to cover their reservoirs. Not only Israel, some other countries, even in California, they have practices this, but Israel method was kind of hitting one in the world. So that's why I wanted to bring it down here. So I want to finish my presentation telling that let the water brings you harmony instead of you making it a devil, because these two water crystals show that your words, your thinking, your behavior can change the quality and the way of how the molecules are being placed in water. So you are the person who can make the water harmony or a favorable product to you, or you are the person who will decide to make it a devil to harm you in another way. So with that, I want to finish my presentation by making the floor open to the distinct to work on with more on this, drilling down more onto this area. And thank you once again as a Disaster Preparedness Center for giving me this opportunity, and looking forward for the panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Bindia. We saw some interesting emerging facts on water, its use, and rather highlighting on the grave issues of water, but we also saw some interesting concepts like the water footprint assessment manual tool that you talk about. Of course, we also looked at the need for the good governance and transparent cooperation to financing and integrating smart water management into the IWRM concept framework. The inventions on water management from Israel and Singapore to UK and Chile, these were interesting innovations indeed. We thank you for that interesting presentation. We will reserve the Q&A for the Q&A session. So we are going straight into the panelists. Our first panelist to speak is Dr. Kim Kwon Hyun. Please share your screen and you have the floor, Kim.
Okay, thank you. So I'm second round, but I will try. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kwang Hyun Kim. Hopefully you can see my screen now. And today I'd like to actually introduce about my current ongoing project under the CIS project called the Integrated Pest Management using seamless climate information. This is general information about the CIC project, and I think you will already know about this one. And then under this Climate Innovation Challenge pilot program, the SNU Seoul National University, together with the Bangladesh Rice Research Institute, we are conducting this CIC-45 seamless pest management platform development. Okay, so what is the goal of the seamless pest management? So we wanted to actually introduce the WMO's recent climate service concept called the Ready, Set, Go concept. So basically we are using the compatible weather and climate information to make a Ready, Set, Go, 3 different or multiple steps of decision making utilizing seamless weather and climate information. When we talk about seamless weather and climate information, we talk about climate change scenario and seasonal forecast and sub-seasonal forecast, weather forecast, and also nowcast. So you can actually find all different scales of the temporal scales of the climate information available at the moment because of the technology development these days. And then we wanted to actually utilize that available climate information to support the step-by-step Ready, Set, Go management decisions in agricultural sector. And then we chose pest and disease management for the thematic area for this project. And then how that works. Okay, so under the Ready, Set, Go concept, let's say you are actually utilizing climate change scenario. And then this is the when you have to actually make action under the Go theme. So that's the moment you have to make decisions, final decisions, right? And then you are aiming at this point, action point, and then starting maybe 10 to 30 years before your action point, you may need to utilize climate change scenarios. And then based upon climate change scenario, you generate or produce a certain disease, rice disease. For example, here, rice blast disease, risk information. So utilizing that risk information, you make climate change related decision making that you can make certain decisions, mostly government led, such as policy development and research and development, something like that. For example, like over the next 10 to 30 years, if you expect high risk of rice blast, you may need to actually invest in breeding for blast resistant varieties, more irrigation infrastructure, construction planning, or something like that. And as time goes, and if you're actually looking at over the next 6 months for your decision making, you probably need to use a seasonal forecast, which has 1 to 6 months lead time. If your seasonal forecast indicates certain risk information for rice blast, then your I mean, farmers and also government workers, they need to understand the seasonal IPM strategies, such as the planting day selection and plant cultivar selection and plant density selection, something like that, to cope with the anticipated risk of the blast. And as time goes, I mean, they can actually utilize sub-seasonal forecast, which is outlook for next 15 to 30 days. And utilizing that sub-seasonal forecast-based risk information, they can make a monthly IPM tactics. And using weather forecast, looking at next 10 days, based upon the risk information from weather forecast, they can make a weekly IPM tactics. And then on the day of action, they can utilize nowcast or certain information to make the actions during the day based upon the risk information. So in this way, why we are actually using this, I mean, this kind of multiple scales of climate information to aid or to support decision-making in agricultural sector. Because if we don't actually use this step-by-step risk management options, then in normal cases, in general, farmers actually go out to the field, and then if they find some kind of outbreak of certain disease and pest, and that's the moment they have to actually, they don't have like enough enough ways to reduce the risk or avoid the risk at that time. So it's actually in many cases too late for them to take actions for that. So this is kind of like, if they don't do anything on the day of action, they might have like at the highest possible risk on the day of actions. In that case, they cannot actually avoid the risk. They cannot reduce the risk. They probably go bankrupt because of the risk. So we want to actually use step-by-step and seamless pest management options utilizing seamless climate information. In that way, they can actually spread the risk throughout the ready cycle period. So basically, in this way, they can make a low regret decision making, reducing the whole risk. So this is actually relevant to one of the topics or objectives of this iCARE webinar, where I found actually there's a topic for reduction of chemical contamination by promotion of chemical and insecticide-free agricultural practices. This is actually relevant to water management in agriculture area, because if we don't actually do any action before a certain event or certain risk, then farmers had no choice but to use bunch of or tons of pesticide to control the outbreaks or certain pest and disease outbreaks. That will actually lead to use too much or overuse of the pesticide and kind of stuff. And also in terms of the water wise, they for certain disease, if they find like an outbreak on the field, sometimes they have to completely drain the water out of rice paddies. So in that case, in order to control that specific pest, so in that case, we are also losing a lot of water at the time. So after a certain time point, they have to actually keep fill the water in the rice paddies, and in that kind of specific practices, they are actually wasting a lot of water. So I wanted to actually try to connect our project with the this iCARE webinar topics. So this component of our project is have three components. First one is we're going to develop a BCDP GMP3 software package. In other words, the BCDP is like a BRI climate downscaling package. And the other one is the GMP3, which is a generic modular platform for plant pest. So basically, BCDP is dealing with different scales of climate information and downscaling it and bias correct it to be able to use for models, pest and disease models. And GMP3 is the combination of the pest and disease models that we are dealing with. So when you use this, when you develop this BCDP GMP3 software packaging, and they will generate lead time and risk specific risk scores for certain pest and disease. And then these IPM decision trees will identify the optimum management options based upon the lead time and forecast and then risk scores. And then utilizing that ICM, this seamless pest management platform, we are actually doing capacity building even at this moment in Bangladesh for training. So this project actually involves the capacity building activities throughout the project. And then we already did online project, and then this time we are in the middle of a face-to-face training in Bangladesh. The final outcome will be this kind of seamless pest management platform, where this SPMP is gonna be fed with climate data and then agronomic data, and then based on that, it will generate lead time and risk score, and then the IPM decision trees will be used to produce local specific IPM solutions for farmers. The target site currently is in Bangladesh, Kumilla region, and we are partnering with Bangladesh Rice Research Institute. And then key information product is, consists of pre-climate downscaling package, as I said, for seamless climate information, and then genetic modular platform for plant pest, simplified mechanistic modeling platform for plant disease and insect pest, and also IPM decision tree, local specific IPM solutions. So this morning we had the validation of these IPM decision trees with the different multiple scientists in Bangladesh, and then they will successfully validate all the local specific IPM solutions. This indicates the pre-climate downscaling packages. As I said, it is actually using sub-seasonal forecast and seasonal forecast and climate change and observation data to generate, the climate information for the impact models, such as integrated water resource management or integrated risk management, something like that. And this shows the different packages included in the climate downscaling packages. And then once this specific packaging makes the downscaled bias corrected forecast information, then the GMP3 will generate risk information utilizing that climate information. And this is a simple schematic diagram of the GMP3, and then it generates using very simplified modules to produce the pest and disease risk information. And we are dealing with the 5 rice pest and disease: brown plant hopper, yellow stem borer, tungro disease, rice blast, sheath blight, selected in Bangladesh. And then they are actually collecting the data from the field during the borer season of 2022, and they are our collaborators. And then they finally collected pest and disease data from 34 plots. That's a lot. And this shows the GMP3, the disease model used in GMP3. And I'm not going to actually go through them. And this is the the insect models that we developed for this GMP3. And IPM decision tree is a local specific IPM solutions ranging from long-term to short-term management options. So basically, in order to develop IPM decision trees, we had to actually collect all the IPM management options for selected pest and disease. And then we did quality control and analyze those strategies based on actual economic practices taking place in pilot areas. We first validated the IPM management options, and then we converted into IPM decision trees. And then we also, again, validated the IPM decision trees together with the local stakeholders. And then tomorrow, we're gonna secure endorsement of the IPM decision tree from the national partners. So tomorrow, we're gonna have the handover meeting with the Director General of BRI. And this shows the IPM decision trees. When you have like climate change scenario-based information, if the climate change scenario-based information indicates high risk, then there are like optimum management options are selected. And if there is a weather forecast-based information indicates medium risk, then there are medium risk specific IPM method are selected from this IPM method inventory. So overall, this is a seamless pest management platform, starting from climate information downscaling and bias correction, and then pest and disease modeling, and then connected with IPM distant trees using through the local IPM management options. And then we do capacity building for the scientists who are potential operator of this whole process. And then after this pilot project, we're actually trying to scale it up to national level seamless pest management platform. This is the endorsement letter we got. And I just like to say that it takes time, but worth to invest. So through this project, we actually bring all the stakeholders together, including our main partner, BRI. Not only BRI, but we actually, talking with the extension and then other institutions such as including BMD, which is a Bangladesh Meteorological Department, and also the BAMIS project is one of biggest World Bank led funded project in Bangladesh. And we are kind of looking at this integration of our product with other existing product and together with national partners. Okay, so that's all. So I'd like to actually end my presentation here. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kim. We are very happy to report that Dr. Kim and his team in Bangladesh, BRI team in Bangladesh, have successfully completed the deployment of his solution on the seamless pest management. Thank you. The step-by-step risk assess management on the seamless pest management platform using the 3 key information components was on the modular platform. This was informative. Thank you for that. I want to now invite the next panelist, Mr. Kunal Prasad. Please share your screen and the floor is yours.
Hi, sharing. I hope my screen is visible now.
Yes, can you make it full screen?
It should go that way.
Yes, now it's good.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you for this wonderful webinar and for the wonderful session in the previous, the speakers talked about. This is Cropin. We are an AgTech company, been in the business for the last 12 years right now, primarily focused on building data-driven agriculture solutions, specifically focused on smallholder farmers in developing part of the world. In fact, we are one of the largest intelligence platform in that particular perspective because we are working with more than 56 countries in more than 7 million farmers as of now. And what we're trying to do is to use science data to build intelligence, which can be helpful for both the farmers as well as the agriculture ecosystem players for solving their problems for today and tomorrow. We are very thankful for ADPC for their interest to leverage our technology, and we have been given 2 projects. One project in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, and we'll be going to talk about some of those in the discussion as well. So what Cropin does is our vision is basically to compute, and as we are seeing that agriculture is spread across 540 million farmers globally. It's very important to understand that what's going on, and with the changing climate and the challenges which is faced by the agriculture stakeholder, it's very important to understand predictably and prescriptively what's happening, which means that we have to process intelligence and make it available at scale, and that's what we are trying to do. Use remote sensing and data technologies, including machine learning and AI, to build crop models, intelligence about the crop, signature prediction, the state prediction, yield prediction, stress prediction, irrigation advices, and things around that, and give it to multiple stakeholders. We want to make it an intelligent cloud, which means participants from different institutions can also participate over here, collaborate, and we can build that intelligent cloud, which can be accessed by different stakeholders, and we can co-benefit from that. In fact, the current value proposition that we are focusing is to increase per acre value, which means how we can maximize the per acre production using sustainably all the resources which is there, which includes water inputs and taking the right practices as recommended. So the platform is basically divided into two parts. The first part of the platform is a SaaS-based platform where, like, for any field implementation, when we work with like thousands or hundreds of thousands of farmers, the important thing is that how do we bring the stakeholders to transition from their traditional practices into the new practice. And that is where we leverage our extension team network, where the program extension workers are actually given mobile and web-based applications, where they can scout, work with the farmers in their own geographies with 50, 100, 200 farmers, and showcase them the benefit of technology, give them advisory services, report the problems at the field level, as well as communicate what best practices has to follow at that particular point in time. In doing so, the farm management platform basically brings a complete intelligence to institutions which are implementing the program, which means if you're working across countries in different areas, different crop varieties, we can actually understand that what's going on, how many farmers have onboarded, what crops they are growing, what is the stage of the crop. And that becomes a very fundamental data point to bring the machine learning or AI intelligence, which can actually make things much more better and efficient for the farmers. The advanced tech stack becomes much more helpful because when we are talking about scale, when we go to millions of farmers, it's very important to know that every single farmer is different and unique, and we'll have to advise the farmer in that particular unique manner. So that's where we're using our advanced technology to understand the crop, the farmer is growing, the location of the particular crop, and then basis that with the advisory. It's also a seamless platform where data can be stored in cloud, so it can be accessible by different stakeholders across the world as well. Now, the technology is basically layered into three parts, as I talked about. One is the application layer, which actually goes to all different stakeholders. If you have extension workers, if you have agronomists, if you have field force, if you have farmers, they will have access to mobile-based application through which they can, if you are a farmer, you will actually get your advisories on pest and disease, early warning systems, or water irrigation advisories, or good agriculture practices on your phone at the right time, so that you can take the decision based on that. If you're an agronomist working with multiple farmers, you'll be getting tasks and information about what is the overall regional challenge that is going to come, so that you can communicate to your farmer as well as work specifically to individual farmers. The Data Hub platform basically connects, when we talk about solving one problem in terms of digitization and advisory services, helping them to increase productivity, the next challenge comes that how do you increase the income? And income enhancement is all about sustainable production, but also connecting them to markets, including finance and players which can buy the commodity. So that's where the Data Hub platform comes and makes it meaningful. And the third layer is more about the insights platform, because decision making is very important. We have to learn from the data that has been captured in the past, know the current situation, basis that take the proactive decision. And that's where the insights platform provides intelligence to all the stakeholders. These are the different views of our platform. From the smart farm platform, it's basically we have web and mobile interfaces. It's already deployed platform in more than 250 plus programs globally. It's scalable. We can configure multiple crops. In case of Bangladesh, when we were working in the horticulture crop, we had configured all of the horticulture crop, the packaging practices, and we registered almost 2,000 farmers, their locations, the area, and all of that were digitized. And we were able to, in a very, very fast-paced manner, able to start working with those set of farmers. Once the farmer gets digitized, we also map their area, and then using satellite intelligence, we were able to monitor the entire cropping patterns, the stage and the stress of the crop, and basis that start giving them advisories. The AI models is basically intelligence layer that we bring on top of the area that is under production. So if that's a plot level, then we bring the intelligence at the plot level, which means it becomes specific to the farmer. But if it's like a regional level, for example, a district or a state or a village, then we bring the intelligence on that particular layer. Our predictive engineering comes over here, because then we actually predict certain information about the crop. For example, during the rainy season, if the satellite images are not there, we basically have cloud masking algorithm through which we can actually bring intelligence to predict what could be the ideal stage of the crop in that point in time. We also use a lot of weather data, especially when we're talking about irrigation and water management. Everything that we talk about, from package practices recommendation to irrigation scheduling to the pest and disease warning system, water and the weather conditions of that particular farm becomes very important. Our models basically do a hyper local weather. So we have a 500 meter by 500 meter grid of the entire country, whichever country we work in. And then we locate the location of the particular farmer, understand the weather condition, take a 15-day window, and basis that start analyzing and giving the advisory to that particular farmer. As a part of our climate smart package, this is what we bring to the table. Farmer, because the patterns are changing quite frequently, we analyze the overall weather pattern in that particular hyperlocal location, and this is all done on a machine learning backend platform. We start off advisories from the time of sowing advisories. Then it's the irrigation scheduling, depending on whether there is a forthcoming weather condition that is conducive for agriculture, or if it is not, then we ask the farmer to irrigate. It also measures the amount of humidity which is there in the soil and the crop that the farmer is growing. So there is crop science, there is humidity, and then the methodological science that goes all together to give that irrigation scheduling. And then there's other things about once you have the irrigation schedule, you can also recommend in terms of input recommendations, chemical recommendations if there is a present disease early warning systems, as well as harvest monitoring. So this is the project that we have in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, as I talked about. So Bangladesh is more about the paddy production, where we are working on close to 1,000 farmers in the paddy irrigation advisory and climate smart agriculture program. And in Sri Lanka is mostly on the horticulture crops. So for example, in these areas, the first thing that we do is we layer the entire region. That's the first layer. So we predict the crop which is grown in the particular area. This is where we use the satellite-based monitoring models. The second is we layer the crop model. On top of the crop model, we layer the soil moisture maps, because this is very important to understand that what is the current soil moisture that is existing in that particular region, either at the region level or at the farm level. So basis is all the advices that we talked about, from the sowing window analysis to the input recommendations to the irrigation scheduling. All of this happens based on this map layer as well. This also takes in account of the multiple areas when the rainfall is coming. So the map keeps changing, and we do it at a grid of 10 by 10 meter pixel grid. The second thing is the irrigation scheduling, because irrigation is very much crop dependent and location dependent. So basis the two layers that we talked about earlier, the regional prediction of the crop and then the prediction of the water stress, then the irrigation framework comes in picture. And then we actually put in the crop knowledge graph on top of that with the weather information, and then give the predictive advisory to farmers. And these are simple advisories which can be given to the farmer in the form of SMSs, or it can be IVRS services, or we can, in Bangladesh, we are also writing that into the bulletin boards, which is also pasted in the villages where the farmers were actually getting access to what is the water condition going to be, and basis that adopting those advisories. So it helps in terms of planning your water resources. If there is sufficient rainfall coming, you should stop irrigating. If there is enough moisture, you should not irrigate. And if there are any other recommendations depending on the crop, we also bring that signature here. This is how the machine learning works from the back end. So every single plot, it's like plot V1 is the plot. We have the sowing date 4th of February 2022. The crop was potato. What is the water budget that we have? What is the water used till date? How much is the precipitation? What is the effective irrigation scheduling? So we have the complete, every single farm has its own budget or a quota, and then we see how that quota gets utilized, because we know that for a certain crop, this much amount of water will be required, and how that water is getting utilized. So the irrigation scheduling basically understands that quota of that particular crop in that particular location, layers that with the weather information, and then depending on the information coming from the irrigation, start giving the advices to the farmer. So we are trying to optimize as much water as possible. And to a certain extent, we have seen that these models can help you from 20% to 40% of water use efficiencies. Once you save water, the model actually also throws various other value propositions, in terms of disease early warning systems. So we actually embed the complete climate package, which means we also solve the problem for reducing the risk from pest and disease. So it is an early warning system which takes a 15-day window weather criteria, because that's what we find is hyper local and little accurate. So this is that the model comes, and we give the forecast in a 4 to 7 day window for the farmers. This is what we did in Bangladesh, where the Boro rice, we also did a crop classification, not just a paddy verification, but we also did a crop classification on Boro rice. And thankfully, this happened because we had massive amount of data working in the industry for the last 12 years. So that data could help us model not only the crop of paddy, but also the variety, and basis that we were giving specific advices to the farmers. We also implemented the farmer application. So communicating with the farmer through the SMS is fine, but no, there are farmers where we can communicate them through mobile applications as well, because the internet as well as smartphones are penetrating. That's a very positive sign. So we have also built a mobile application farmers can see videos, farmers can be trained about practices so that they can build the trust and then start practicing that. So it's all about how do we help the farmer to adopt to a change, to make the change happen, and then see them to see the benefit. And yeah, this is where we are right now as a company, have been able to work across different parts of the world. And Southeast Asia has been a core area. So started from India, but primarily went into Southeast Asia and then going from there, moving in other parts of the world. And thank you so much for this opportunity, and happy to pick up any questions.
Thank you very much, Kunal. Thank you for taking us through what intelligent cloud innovation and data-driven farming can do to smart farm management using digitization and AI at scale. We will still leave the questions towards the end. I want to now invite Omar to make a presentation, and you may share a screen, please.
Okay, thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Omar, we can see.
First of all, thank you for the ADPC that I'm able to present our project today, and thank you for the speakers who went before me for the excellent presentations. So today I'll be giving a presentation about our solution and the project that we've been doing as part of the Climate Innovation Challenge. I'm going to tell you something about the product itself, about the project, an example of another project that we did, new software that we've developed, and also how does this project relate to the bigger objective to realize climate adaptation in the South Asia region. To start off with the product, some of you might have already seen it, so here's just a brief recap. At the heart of our project was the product SlamDam, which is a easily deployable water-filled flood barrier. The product is made out of synthetic rubber called EPDM. It's very flexible rubber, so it has an elasticity of 400%, meaning that you can deploy it at different type of locations, even when the ground surface is not even. It has 2 compartments, and each compartment you have to fill it with water. And in doing so, you create an internal pressure between both compartments, and this allows for the dam to withstand a very high pressure from outside. Some of the unique selling points: it has a lifespan of more than 50 years. So that's, in the long run, it's actually quite an affordable solution. It's very easily deployed. Speed is of the essence when there's flooding, so you can deploy it very rapidly. It's 100% recyclable, so there's no negative impact on the environment. And it's very easy to use. And that's something also we saw at the project. So how does the system work? You can store the SlamDam in stackable boxes in a storage facility. And then when there's a flooding, or flood season is coming, you take these stackable boxes to the particular location you want to deploy SlamDam. With just 2 people, you can roll it out, connect hoses to them and a pump, and then you can fill it with water. And when the risk is subdued, so when the water levels decrease, you can either store the dams again by first deflating them, or alternatively, if you want to use the dams then for a dry season, and then you can use the stored water to irrigate the water when there's dry season and there's a need of water. So that was at the heart of the Climate Innovation Challenge project we are doing in Pakistan. When we were awarded this project, we established a consortium comprising of our organization, local organization in Pakistan called Water Sprint, another organization, Nederlands Schuurmans, and SlamDam. The objective of the project was to demonstrate SlamDam as an effective flood barrier, and that helps prevent damages to assets, environment, people, agricultural land, for example. And we did this in the Gilgit-Baltistan region in Pakistan, which is at the north, and that area suffers from flooding every year due to seasonal meltwater. So you have a lot of glaciers in that area. And because of the summertime, the glaciers start melting, and then water levels rise, causing a lot of damage to the people and the environment. So our approach was first to do some hydrodynamic modeling. Like our previous speakers, I believe in data-driven solutions. So we use data-driven hydrodynamic modeling software to better understand the flood risks in that region, the water flows, flow velocities. But that's not just it. So we need to do that in combination with field visits. What we've seen in the past is that hydrodynamic modeling is just one part of the solution, one part of the analysis. But we need to validate it with actual field visits. So we need to go to the location, inspect the location, and does it match up with the model? And in practice, can we deploy SlamDam over there? Now, then we select the location where to deploy SlamDam. And next we shipped the SlamDam to the location, and we used the development monitoring and evaluation plan to evaluate the benefit from deploying SlamDam. So the hydrodynamic model for this project was okay, but we didn't have the most detailed data. So sometimes we have projects where you have like LiDAR data available, which has a very high resolution. So you have a very detailed picture of the elevation models and from the land use. In this particular case, we didn't have this LiDAR data. So we used the existing data sets that are already available. And it gave us an idea of, okay, how does the water flow? What area gets flooded? What area gets damaged? What are the flood depths? It gives us an initial idea. But then we did this, we combined this with field visits. So our local partner, they went to the location. Actually, they inspected multiple locations, but this is the final location that we chose. And we were collecting data there as well to better understand what is the flood depth. Does it match with our hydrodynamic model? And based on those two analyses, we decided where to deploy SlamDam. And as you can see on the pictures, you have some glaciers nearby, and there's two main glaciers that cause these, the Hunza River from rising water levels during the summer, which happens every year. Okay, so what we did is we manufactured the SlamDam technology. We knew what length it should be, what the height of the SlamDam should be. And next we shipped it to the location where we trained the people. But I mentioned before that it's quite easy to train people. It's a very straightforward product. So we were able to do that quite quickly. It's actually mainly on site. We also have some instruction videos. And here you see that we started deploying SlamDam. And yeah, how it works is that you roll it out, you connect them. There's no need to connect anything with ropes or it's just pure water pressure. So you need to have overlap the barriers with 1 centimeter, and then you fill them with water, and then you can build up the barrier, and you can do that quite rapidly. And you can leave them, basically, they're still there, by the way. So we deployed them, I think, 3 weeks ago, something like that. They're still at the location, so you can leave them for a long time. And I think when the water levels start decreasing, then they can deflate them and store them again for the next season. So if you look at how the demonstration went, so we had a lot of great attendees. So obviously the project team was there, including the endorsing organization. We had the local communities and local stakeholders, such as the NGO and some potential clients in the ADPC. Wasn't an easy area to get to be honest. It's quite challenging because it's all the way up north. So flights were not going and we had to go by car, and there were some landslides, but we were able to make it anyway. And when we did the demonstration, I think all parties agreed, including the endorsing agency company, that the demonstration was successful. You know, we were able to deploy SlamDam, we were able to train the people so they could do it independently, and it was effective. You know, you had the rising water levels, what happens there in the evening, because during the day the sun is shining and the water starts melting, and then in the evening the water level rises, and the SlamDam was effective. So it prevented inundation of the land behind it, where you had some small potato fields, but also some houses. So it was still a demonstration, so it's a pilot, so it wasn't really a huge area that we could protect, but it was effective, and that we were able to demonstrate that. We had a few lessons learned. I mentioned before that we did field visits. I think for the next time we should have multidisciplinary field visits at the beginning of the project, like have people from the Netherlands, different backgrounds join there as well. I think that gives a better understanding of the project location. We should have additional instruction videos that was requested by them. And what is very important, we notice, is that it's when you have a project team, it's very important to have someone who knows the local stakeholders. You might have seen that as well in your projects. but it helps and makes the implementation run quite smoothly. Quick, another project that we've done in Burundi, also to show you how SLAMDAM can be used as well. We did again here, so hydrodynamic modeling analysis. We deployed SLAMDAM and completely different environment. As you can see, obviously there are no glaciers here because it's in Burundi, where you have, but they have a lot of damages because of rising water levels from nearby mountains. And a lot of the agricultural land gets damaged each year. So that really affects the crops production of that area. Farmers are really suffering. What we're doing here as well is that we were using it to prevent flooding, but at the same time now there's dry season, and now they are using it for irrigation purposes, like I mentioned before. So that's actually the combination how you can use SLAMDAM, either to use the stored water for irrigation purposes, or either you can redirect excess flood water to store it somewhere else in a water tower or in a lake. And that relates to the previous session where the king Parakama Bahu mentioned that no drop should be spilled before it runs in the ocean. So that's what we try to do here as well. Try to capture the excess flood water, what it is quite valuable, but normally goes away. And now we try to capture that and use it for irrigation purposes. In addition, we developed a flood intelligence software solution that relates to SLAMDAM, maybe a bit broader than SLAMDAM, just all flood resilient measures. What this tool does, it combines two areas of expertise. So you have flood data analytics, something I think we all agree that data analytics is important when you want to enhance resilience to floods, but also it combines it with physical resilient measures. And what the tool does, in a nutshell, it does a comparative analysis between a flood event without and with a flood resilient measure. And the comparative analysis results in a clear picture of what would be the benefit of that particular flood resilient measure in that flood event. That can be SLAMDAM, can be other flood resilient measures. And then you can see really in terms of what are the benefits in terms of how many financial damages are we able to prevent, or how many people are we able to protect, of whom how many are women, how many are children. This helps organizations in making decisions on what kind of flood measures should they implement. I think it also gives you an idea of the return of investment, but quite often it's important to express benefits not just in monetary values, but also non-monetary values, like human lives saved. Yeah, so this is a quick overview of the tool. What it does, the tool has some input data, things like flood depth maps, flood maps, damage curves, population density maps, land use maps. This is the input data. So we have these data are readily available. You have data sets, for example, from the European Space Agency, from the land use maps, but these have a resolution of 10 by 10 meter. You can also upload your own data. So if you have your own data, like LiDAR data, which is a lot more reliable, you can upload that as well. And LiDAR data, for example, has a resolution of 50 centimeter by 50 centimeter. So that's a lot, better, more reliable than compared to the land use map from the European Space Agency. So the better the data input, the better the output. And the output is then a visualization of the flood event with a measure or without a measure. And both events are visualized. And at the same time, the benefits are expressed, the quantified benefits are expressed in predefined indicators in a table, such as how many people were able to protect, how many women. And that is what the tool does. Now, this corresponds well with the SLAMDAM solution. So when we want to scale up in the future, we can already do pre-analysis for the organizations to indicate to them what would be the benefit from deploying the SLAMDAM technology, even though this is broader than just SLAMDAM, it's for all flood resilient solutions. Now, in a broader perspective, the last section of the presentation, we've developed a theory of change, well known probably to you as well. So you have a problem tree, solution tree, and I think this captures how we want to make change, how we want to create change in Pakistan or actually in South Asia region. So what we try to do is we want to make local communities more resilient to climate change-induced flooding and drought by giving them more the capabilities and the capacity to reduce vulnerabilities using the SlamDam technology. If you look at it, so currently what we've seen in our current project, but as you see that in many communities worldwide, is that they have some lack of access to financial means, to effective resilient measures. They lack in some capabilities to enhance resilience to floods. All these things we try to solve with our projects. So we want to make sure they have access to funds, to the flood and drought resilient solutions, in this case, and SlamDam, but maybe also software solutions, improve their knowledge and the capabilities. And eventually that should contribute to the overall solution and to enhance the resilience to flooding. So this will result in hopefully in less damage to agricultural land, less loss of jobs or improved economy, less injuries, less fatalities, and you will have an improved food security, like the example I just showed you in Burundi, where you have now, we are able to protect the agricultural land from flooding, and at the same time we can use it, SlamDam, to irrigate the land. So you'll have an improved food security in that region, improved biodiversity. So this is what we try to accomplish. These are the effects of our solution. And when you link it then to the Sustainable Development Goals, I think there are more goals that are maybe indirectly impacted as well. But I think these are the ones that we can very well impact, positively contribute to in the South Asia region using our projects that center around the SlamDam technology and possible software solutions. Final slide. So, okay, now we want to try to scale up across Pakistan and even across other regions in South Asia. We know there's a lot of interest. So in that sense, I would say the demonstration was very successful. There are a lot of organizations already in Pakistan who've expressed an interest. Some of them plan to visit the demonstration location. And what we need to do then from our side is we need to have discussions with them to really understand what problems they are facing and how SlamDam would fit in that. So the theory of change will be applied for that as well, just to capture, to really understand how can we best help them enhance resilience to flooding and drought. What we're also planning to do is give a large-scale demonstration here in the Netherlands, where I'm originally from, and there we would like maybe to invite those stakeholders as well from Pakistan who have already shown an interest. Now, next we need to scale up across South Africa region. Hopefully, we have the event in August where we can perhaps discuss this as well, how to scale up in other areas. It's up to us then to present the solution, give perhaps more demonstrations, or invite people to attend a demonstration in a different country, and then hopefully we can get a lot of interest like we see in Pakistan and also now in the other countries. And in addition, we are always looking for other partners to work with. So perhaps even participants here who have were selected also for the Climate Innovation Challenge, feel free to contact me in case you would like to partner up. Yeah, this is in a nutshell about our project, what we did.
Thank you, Omar. I think I was privy to the demonstration that happened in Pakistan. I saw firsthand the potential of the mobile dams, given the right information and data, what it can do in terms of resolving flood and drought. So thank you for taking us through that. We have come to a close of the presentations. We are opening for questions. In the interest of time, I think I'm going to, there's a couple of questions for Dr. Kim, so I'm going to combine them. Dr. Kim, resolution of the model data of BMD for your project. To Dr. Kim, incidence and magnitude of disease are affected by three aspects: environment, pathogen, and host plants sensitivity to the disease, also known as disease triangle. It seems you have considered only climate parameters, if I understand correctly. If you have integrated the other two aspects of the disease triangle? If not, won't that be something that needs to be integrated? I'm going to let Dr. Kim answer that.
Okay, thank you for the question. I think I've already answered a bit of them, but still, okay, I'm gonna actually answer those questions. First questions, thank you for the question. And The spatial resolution of the climate information is now 1 kilometer grid, and the temporal is daily at the moment. So I hope that answers your question. And then the second question, the pest and disease models are considering climate and agronomic data. In terms of the rice cultivar resistance level at the moment. So basically, it is actually contains two aspects of the disease triangle. And for the broad regional application of this solution, because we are targeting one district or one regional level, it is actually impossible to get the pathogen inocular density information. Thus, this is not considered at the moment, but for the weather forecast-based risk, the BRI is now planning to install spot traps to include this dynamic information as an input of the model. So which will make the SPMP more usable in the next near future. So thank you again for your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. Bindya, the next question is for you. It says from Willem, thank you for good presentation. Triggered by your statement, no single drop should flow into the ocean without being used by humans. That statement puts emphasis on water as a commodity to be used to the maximum. But given the variability in availability of water, the statement also puts enormous stress on the water system. Should we not adopt a notion of at least 25% should flow into the ocean without being touched by humans? That would create the very much needed slack leeway and create a little buffer capacity to deal with drought events and would put less stress on the system. Bindya.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I think I'm agree with you. I'm not saying that the 25% has to be flown to the oceans and other catchment areas, but the statement itself, what was being captured and why we really consider about that thing is like, it says that we have to be really precise on about the rainwater and how it has to be utilized by the people. Like it doesn't mean that the required amount of water has to be flown to the places, because if you've gone through the cascade system, which I have already shown in the other side of that presentation, it automatically says that his statement is not just to keep all the water inside the country itself, but it says that it will flow, but without any damage or without any without using it. You will not allow it to flow to the water. That means that we will try our best to get that particular water. Practically, we say that rainwater harvesting as much as we can, not just flooding and all sort of other adverse effects in the country to be placed, but will utilize all the water and will be very sensitive that for that water without damaging that water. The amount will be flown to the sea itself, but not that it will hold and it will be only be used for the people. That's what I wanted to bring from that, but I don't know whether I have answered your question.
Okay, that was for Willem. You had your Willem, you have your hand up.
Yeah, yeah, I think I fully agree with what Bindya is saying, but I'm maybe pointing a little bit at a larger question, where if we try to get the maximum out of natural systems, we might run into systems where we make ourselves more vulnerable than we should be, and getting more and more control over a water system basically means you can see that in Cape Town happening, at point zero happening. You're stressing the system to the max, then the drought starts to occur and you don't have anywhere to go anymore. And that seems to be the trend that's happening at the moment. So I fully agree with Bindya, and I think also we should be a little bit careful with optimizing this kind of systems. Thanks.
Thank you, William. Yeah, I agree with you. but we have to balance both. That's what I think.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
we can take the core, like we have to manage and we have to utilize and we have to sensitive to the environment. Everything has to be integrated and we have to use that thing, because always the ancient kings, I think, not only in Sri Lanka, any other part in the world, they were the people who, or the ancient people are the people who were really sensitive to the environment, the society, and the economy. Also, we can say, though we talk about the 3 pillars right now as new concepts, so they try their best to do that. So that statement was saying that particular thing, and I'm fully agree with you. We have to be living together according to the nature, according to our, we have to think and we have to adjust our requirement based on that. Thank you, William.
Thank you, Bintia and William. The next question is for Slam Dam. Omar, there are 2 people who asked about the lifespan and price of Slam Dam, but there's also a question by Zishan asking how much climatic resilient in drought areas. So how much is Slam Dam climate resilient in areas of drought? Also, there's a question, what are the flood depth that the system could be applied for? Do you have experienced the behavior? Have you experienced the behavior once the Slam Dam is overflown? And how much compatibility in hill torrent areas? These are some of the questions coming from the floor to Omar.
Okay, let me do my best to answer. Oh, yeah, let me do my best to answer them. First of all, the lifespan is over 50 years. So there's a very long lifespan. Even when it gets damaged, even you have a rupture or a hole in it, you can repair it and it's still good to go. So the cost depends on what kind of model. So our standard models, we call them the Profi Dam, and they are 1,350 euros. So that's for 1 unit. But depending on what kind of model someone is looking for, sometimes people want very high models or very lengthy models. The trade-off is that you cannot carry them with just a few people. So you can have a barrier that is 10 meters in length or 15 meters. But then at a certain point, you need heavy equipment to deploy Slam Dam. We had one inquiry in Austria for 10 meters, but they needed cranes to deploy Slam Dam. I don't think that's in many instances that is the ideal solution, especially if you look at the communities that we were. It's not possible, you know. So can we have higher models? Yeah, that's possible. We can have higher models, but I think if you're looking for models that are 3 or 4 meters in length, then probably it's better to think of a structural solution. It is feasible, but then, like I mentioned, you need very heavy equipment. And I think I saw something about the sediment. So I presume, like sediment, if you fill the barrier with sand and the sand comes in, actually there's no issue, because you need a vacuum pump to take out the water. And then quite often you take out the sediment as well. We've seen it also in Burundi and in Pakistan. One thing to keep in mind is that it might damage the pump itself. But the Slam Dam will be fine. But okay, the pump might be get damaged a bit sooner. Okay, the overflown. So if the water overtops the Slam Dam, I see a question here. What happens then? So the Slam Dam stays in its place. Coincidentally, that happened here in Pakistan. We know that the water overtops the Slam Dam, but Slam Dam stayed in its place. There is some water on the back behind the dam, still quite limited, to be honest. And you can pump that out as well if you want to. So that has been tested as part of this project, coincidentally. And any other? Did I miss anything? The hill, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, the torrent.
Okay. Yeah. So the hill. Yeah. Slam Dam can be used in many different circumstances, many different ground surfaces. If it's very slopey, then you cannot use it. So that is a prerequisite that, you know, if it's very hilly, if you have a very big slope, then Slam Dam is not the right solution for that. So I hope I answered the questions. Maybe if I'm missing something, I'll put my email in the chat so that you can always ask questions if you want to.
Yes, you can always ask questions, send your questions to us. We will direct it to the speakers. Any other questions? I want to check if there are any raised hands. If not, there is just one question that I would like to, because it came up in Kunal's presentation on the adoption of technology. So technologies for efficient water management exist in agriculture, but the adoption is quite poor. So why do you think, and how best can we resolve that issue?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question. The adoption across agriculture sector, it's not only about water, it's all about anything that is required to be changing. Like we talk about farmers going from traditional agriculture into high value agriculture, changing even the seeds that the farmer were growing traditionally, or practicing a newer package of practice. Like all of them requires a farmer to trust the agency which is bringing that advisory services. And that's where we are seeing the community-led transformation is always helpful, because a smallholder farmer at the scale of 2-3 acres would not be able to take the decision independently. And that's where we see that community mobilization, use of technology, and that delivery module, which is like community led, is always the right way to bring any change. And farmers when they see the change, when we talk about cooperatives or FPOs or self-help groups, the benefits that they can realize is even multiplied when they come together. So I think these are some of the reasons why we clearly articulate that an individual farmer is transforming an individual farmer is always challenging than transforming a group.
Thank you, Kunal. Thank you for that. Any other questions? If not, please give me 2 minutes to close the session. I am checking for any raised hands.
Yeah, question from me.
Yes.
Chandrasekhar from India.
We will take the last question. Yes.
India. Actually, I've been told that arsenic is a problem in Sri Lanka. Is it true or not? The excess arsenic in drinking water is a problem. So you're a water expert over there. Can
India, that's for you.
You're asking about the arsenic, right? If I am correct?
Yep.
According to my knowledge and information, it is not very much high in arsenic contamination, because we have certain areas like it was being mentioned in this Putlam and those areas. There were kind of arsenic contamination, but we had more of other contaminations like cadmium and other heavy metals, because we are very much prone to this especially the north central provinces, to this CKD, the chronic renal failure, which is still unknown, because so many researches are going on with that, because due to the water, that also been due to the water, specifically due to the agriculture leakages, the pesticides and fertilizer. And that is one reason. Very recently, this organic agriculture movement came to Sri Lanka, but it was not, it was not properly being done. Like we cannot, from a day, we can't change the entire country into organic, but we have to take it in several steps and do it. So we are still having a very big issue with this chronic renal failure, especially in this North Central province. Due to this, we assume that it is due to this high amount of heavy metals, but I'm not in the position to tell exactly the percentages of arsenic contamination in Sri Lanka. But as per my knowledge, I know that it is not very high compared to the other countries in the world.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, we are doing natural water purifiers, which don't need electricity and also doesn't waste water. To remove all these type of metal contaminants as well, these are customized to the customer. We do standalone filter and also the larger one to do away with RO, because RO wastes almost 50% of water, and also the membrane which you are throwing out as a solid disposal is a huge problem. So we have come out with an alternative. If you give us a small pilot, we can try it out. Thanks for it.
Thank you. Okay, that would be really interesting. I will pass the message to relevant authorities, and at the same, please keep in touch. And at the same time, so even Nia worked on with Korean there was a Korean project on appropriate technology development project in Sri Lanka, and even we were working on this reverse osmotic, implanting few plants in this area where this drinking water issue is already there. So I think we can cooperate. I'll surely keep in touch with you. Thank you for raising. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you everyone for your questions and for the speaker and panelists for answering the questions. I think Omar has already answered Sakul's question on the fish culture. Thank you for that. To close this conversation, Vindhya, Omar, Kim, and Kunal, thank you very much for leading today's conversation on innovation in water management in a changing climate. I believe we may have just scratched the surface of the challenges, opportunities, the needs, processes, and approaches. In my opinion, each one of this is a title worthy of a few sessions by itself. As interesting as it was getting, we do need to close for the day. A big shout out to our speaker and panelists. A very special thank you to all the participants, and we will see you again in our next session. The next series is on measuring innovation to scale in climate adaptation and resilience. This is tentatively aimed for 12th of August. Please keep an eye out for the announcement. And thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Have a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening, wherever you are. And if you have any questions, please do send it to us. We will direct it to the right person, the right speaker, or the panelist today. Please also, we will also send the Google Forms for feedback. Please fill in and send it back to us. Thank you very much.